Ooh, I hate mosquitoes. They just love to make my life miserable. Ooh, hi friends. I didn't see you there. What did I say about creeping up on an old lad now? But don't worry. I love it when you pop by. Makes me the happiest lad in the world. But I can tell you what doesn't make me happy. Mosquitoes. Raise your hand if you find them annoying too. Ho 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 ho. I can see I'm not the only one. But friends, there are always loads of mosquitoes this time of the year. Feels like a plague has been released on my village. Come to think of it, I know a great story about a plague. But not just one. 10. Would you like to hear it? Okay, but you know I have to get my book first. I can't tell my story without it. Friends, if you can remember the last time, our story ended with Joseph and his family in the land of Egypt. And that is where our story continues. A new pharaoh came to power and enslaved the descendants of Joseph. The Israelites were slaves in Egypt for about 400 years. God's people cried out to him for help, and God listened to their prayers. Wow! Isn't it amazing to think that God listens to the prayers of his people? It is a reminder that we can pray to him and ask for help when we find ourselves in dark times. God listens. The Pharaoh demanded that every newborn Hebrew boy must be killed and thrown into the Nile. At the same time, a woman gave birth to a little boy. She tried to save her boy by hiding him. She made a basket and then put the young child in it, and then placed the basket in the riverbanks. Pharaoh's daughter found the basket with the little boy, and she took pity on him. She ended up raising him, and she called him Moses. Friends, it is sad to see how numerous young children had to die because of the evil Pharaoh. But later in the story, you will see another leader do exactly the same thing. Today's story is very important, because you will see a lot of similarities later on. But let's continue the story. When Moses was much older, he killed an Egyptian man and fled to the land of Midian. There he married Zipporah, and they had a son called Gershom. As Moses was looking after his father-in-law's flock on Mount Horeb, God appeared to him in a burning bush and called Moses to deliver the people of Israel from Egypt. Can you imagine how Moses must have felt at that moment? But that was the first of many miraculous things Moses would witness. Wait till you see what happens next. Let's continue the story, shall we? Moses returned to Egypt as God commanded him and repeatedly asked Pharaoh to release God's people. Pharaoh refused, and God released 10 plagues upon Egypt and its people. He turned the water into blood and released frogs, lice, flies, livestock pestilence, boils, hail, locust and complete darkness on Egypt, until finally the killing of all the firstborn. God protected his people by ordering them to put blood of a lamb on their doorposts. This will protect them, and death won't enter their house. Friends, what happened here is called Passover. And did you know that Passover is being celebrated by Jews even till this day? But here is something that makes me very excited. Remember how God provided a lamb to be sacrificed in the place of Isaac? Now we read how God's people got saved by the blood of a lamb. Remember this, because it will be very important later in the story. But let's return and see what happens next. Pharaoh's firstborn also passed away during the 10th plague, and he finally agreed to set God's people free. Shortly after the Israelites left, The Pharaoh changed his mind and sent his army to recapture the slaves. As Pharaoh and his army catches up on Moses and the Israelites, God parted the Red Sea and they walked through on dry land. Once they were on the other side, God let the waters collapse on Pharaoh and his men. Once again, God saved his people from Pharaoh. Wow, friends, just think about it for a second. God parts the waters of the Red Sea. You don't get any bigger than that. The Israelites are now free from slavery and they are on their way to the promised land. So let's read further. Under the leadership of Moses, the Israelites are now in the desert for 40 years. But during this time, God provided manna from heaven and was with them in the form of a cloud during the day and a pillar of fire at night. But still, they complained about their hardships. God gave Moses 10 commandments on Mount Sinai, but the Israelites made themselves a golden idol in the shape of a calf. And Moses, in anger, breaks the stone tablets that contain the 10 commandments. The Israelites repent and God forgives them. Moses returns to Mount Sinai, sees God's glory, and receives new stone tablets. Friends, this is so sad. To think that God saved his chosen people from slavery. They saw him do miraculous things, like the 10 plagues and parting the waters of the sea. Yet, they end up worshipping a golden calf. Moses realized that he can't lead God's people by himself, and that God must be with him. So God gave Moses instruction on building a tabernacle, establish priests to serve in the tabernacle, as well as the items Moses needs to place inside, like the Ark of the Covenant. Friends, this is the story of how God saved his people from slavery. Moses and the Israelites are now in the desert and they are on their way to the land that God has promised to Abraham. But more on that next time as we continue the story. For now, I better go off to the market and see if I can't find something to chase away all these mosquitoes. Till next time, friends. Bye.